Captain Midnight.
This video is brought to you by Skillshare. So by now, it's pretty clear that we are a good ways off from any new movies hitting theaters. Maybe something like Black Widow will come to Disney+, but to be honest, I kind of doubt it. Still, I was in the mood to talk some MCU, and while I generally steer clear of making videos about rumors, this one was honestly just too good to pass up. According to a rumor that really blew up thanks to Kevin Smith, there is a chance that the Man Without Fear himself might be showing up in the MCU's next Spider-Man film. And look, I'll just say right away that this seems pretty far-fetched to me, and the fact that many seem to believe it will be the Netflix Daredevil makes it seem even more unlikely. Marvel and Netflix ended their deal pretty abruptly, and now with Disney+, they're kind of clear-cut competitors. But you know what, for this video, let's toss all of that out the window. Even if I don't think it's likely to happen, that doesn't mean I don't love the possibility. And since one of my favorite things to do on this channel is to armchair quarterback and talk about what I would like to see, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and talk about it. If Daredevil was gonna make his first MCU appearance in the next Spider-Man, how should it be handled? That's what I'm gonna be exploring in this video. Oh, and if you feel like helping out the channel during this pretty weird time, feel free to leave a like or subscribe and hit that annoying little bell thing. With that out of the way though, let's talk some Daredevil.
Daredevil! I haven't got time to explain. Just tell me your side of it. I'll know if you're lying. How am I supposed to know you're the real Daredevil? What?
So, Far From Home leaves Peter Parker in probably the perfect possible position to meet Matt Murdock, accused of a heinous crime that he didn't commit. Anyone who's read a lot of old Marvel back issues, or even seen Spider-Man the animated series, knows that an old storytelling trick they love to pull is having Matt Murdock be an accused hero's appointed defense attorney. Is that a convenient coincidence? Yes. Is it also a great way to insert Matt into our lead's personal life? Definitely. I would love to see the MCU go this route. Daredevil's costumes and powers are a hugely important part of that character, sure, but first and foremost, they need to establish who Murdock really is. And I can't think of a better way to demonstrate the heroic side of Matt better than to have him defend a working class kid from Queens against some false charges. To anyone not already super familiar with the character, I think that alone would go a long way towards making them understand who Murdock is. When the entire world has already branded Peter a criminal, Matt is the person willing to step in and try to prove him innocent, even if most people will hate him for it. But here's where I voice my concerns of what I don't want to see happen. There's been a lot of complaints that Holland's Spider-Man is treated too much like a kid or a sidekick. And some of those criticisms are founded, and others are pretty overblown in my opinion. I have no problem with Daredevil being in the movie. I think it's a really cool idea. But I also think it's absolutely important that Peter grows up a lot in this film, and that his relationship to Daredevil is very different than his relationship to Tony Stark. Not that they need to be on exactly equal footing, like Matt is much older than Peter, but it shouldn't be a paternalistic, I'm teaching this kid everything I know type of thing. We've been there and done that in the MCU, and I think it's very important that this film emphasize Peter having to grow up, face some harsh realities, and make the big decisions for himself. Daredevil and Spider-Man can work together, but I'm not interested in repeating what we've already seen. Some might say it's less exciting to see this particular Spider-Man in a team-up situation, because haven't we already seen that? After all, he's been in multiple Avengers movies. And maybe there's some truth to that, but I do think that you could set up Daredevil to exist in a very, very different kind of world than the Avengers. Charlie Cox's Daredevil hasn't been to space, isn't a globe-trotting secret agent, he's the definition of a gritty, street-level hero. And while I think Homecoming did a really fun job with his street-level stuff, it would be nice to see Peter have to reconnect with that, and maybe work in the more desperate, poor areas of the city that Daredevil usually operates in.
Daredevil, hang on! I hate to leave you, but if I don't get that dick...
And of course, if we're just tossing out things we'd love to see, I'm gonna bring in more of the Daredevil TV cast. Sure, I'd like to see Karen and Foggy make an appearance, but you probably know who I'm really talking about here. Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. I love this take on the character. Wilson Fisk has always been one of my favorite Marvel villains, but Netflix's Daredevil was able to add a layer of psychological realism to him that I found really interesting. D'Onofrio's Fisk, despite being a very smart and incompetent mob boss in many ways, is always, at heart, kind of a child. He tries to hide it, but under his terrifying exterior is that little kid in the flashbacks from season 1. He is grown up, but he's also kind of always going to be trapped emotionally as that volatile boy who murdered his abusive father with a hammer. Now, that may seem a little dark for an MCU movie, but I still think he could be a super effective villain. Maybe it's revealed that he was the one pulling the strings behind Spider-Man getting set up in the first place. Like he's the one funding the Daily Bugle and trying to get Peter Parker blamed for everything. Maybe because he had a hand in financing Mysterio as well. This could also be a clever route to finally bringing back Gargan from Homecoming in a big way, as Kingpin could recruit him to go after Peter Parker and Matt Murdock, transforming him into the Scorpion along the way. My real motivation here, though, is I just want to see Holland Spider-Man and D'Onofrio's Kingpin share some screen time. The classic Spider-Man Fisk dynamic is one that I've always loved, with Spider-Man just constantly getting under his skin. I think this was done especially well in the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, but it could also be taken to a whole other level with these versions of the characters. Holland has some pretty amazing comedic timing. I think that's one of his biggest strengths, and this Wilson Fisk takes himself so seriously and is so quick to fly off the handle that I just think it would make for some really funny scenes that could turn dark in a split second. And that opens up a ton of possibilities. But I feel like I should probably pull the focus back to Daredevil himself. He's one of my favorite Marvel heroes, with one of the most consistently good to great comic titles, probably of the past 15 to 30 years, honestly. Basically, he deserves better than to be left on the shelf, a victim of the Marvel Netflix deal dissolving. Now, I would like Cox's take on the character to return, but even if they were to recast, I could probably live with that too. I just think Matt Murdock really needs his time to shine in the MCU proper. And I'd love if a co-starring role in a Spider-Man movie could lead to a new film franchise for him, because there's just so much Daredevil comic material that I think could work really well on screen that we haven't seen yet.
I am confident, fearless.
There's also a lot of good Spider-Man Daredevil team-up stories to take inspiration from. These are two heroes who go about their jobs in pretty radically different ways. Maybe not to the extent of like Spider-Man and the Punisher, but there's no denying that Daredevil tends to exist in a more brutal corner of the Marvel Universe. Holland's Spider-Man does not need to permanently exist in that corner, but right now, at probably his lowest point, it might be a good place for him to visit. The MCU Spider-Man has a chance to grow up and mature in a big way in the next film, and I think Daredevil is just about the perfect character to lead this franchise into that weightier, slightly darker area. And if Wilson Fisk and the rest of the Netflix cast could tag along, that would be even better. In my opinion, the Netflix show was cancelled after its single best season. But if there's one thing I know about Matt Murdock, it's that you can't keep him down for long. But let me know what you think. If you're interested in learning some new skills that you can use from your home and get into the YouTube game, check out YouTube Success, build an authentic channel that's worth the follow on Skillshare. This is an amazing place to start. It's a great look at how to find your niche and gain some tractions on this massive website. But you will find a lot more than that on Skillshare. It's a massive creative community for anyone at pretty much any skill level, where you can learn about tons of different topics, and a smart and affordable way to start learning some skills that could really open up whole new doors and opportunities. There's great courses on animation, marketing, entrepreneurship, and a lot more. Skillshare has over 25,000 courses to pick from, and the annual subscription is less than $10. And if you go to the link in the description below, you'll get 2 months of access to those classes for free. Start learning by going to skl.sh/captainmidnight31. That's skl.sh/captainmidnight31.
Here's a special tip for the fellas and girls who have not already joined Captain Midnight's new 1940 Flight Patrol. You'd better hurry up and join at once, because there's a big adventure ahead. The thing to do now is to get started, because we're going to have not only barrels of fun, but loads of free gifts and prizes too.